Well, hello everyone. There you are. Just getting a beverage situated, so on and so forth. And obviously, I am going to give everybody a few minutes to kind of trickle in, so on and so forth. But yeah, I'm rocking my. I guess you gotta kind of see proper to see that Krusty is chilling down there, and yeah, Ralphie is Georgie. But yes, everybody, Bevaninos, and obviously, welcome to the horror show, and welcome so graciously to the fact that today is the birthing day of my favorite author, Most Easy. You can kind of see him over there. No, I'm debating if I want to like adjust the camera angle just a little bit, because since I switched to the awesomeness of the laptop, it's been a little bit different of a situation. But yeah, man, I had my birthday yesterday, and then Sai King's is the day after me, so it's like kind of a dueling celebration of coolness. And so yeah, check out the Slippy Knot. Trying to, I think that might actually work a little bit better. I just don't want the empty space. Cecil always gets on me about the empty space. But yes, I'm so very stoked to see Richard is here. Zach King is here. Good evening, and happy late birthday, Fuego. Mucho gracias. Thank you so very much. Austin is here. Long days and pleasant nights indeed. And so, guys, this is going to be just kind of a AMA loose celebration of everything Sai King. And yes, we did just have the 35th anniversary of it this past week on September 15th. And I mean, before I go into the entirety of the show protocol, I should probably just wait for other peeps to kind of like tune in and so on and so forth. But yeah, thank you so very much for spending a little bit of time with me today. And just gonna show off this awesome mug that Marcia Parker gave me. You can see it's like a Tim Curry sort of situation, which is very cool. And yeah, it was a nice birthday. It really, really genuinely was. I'll finish up the improper beverages before we switch to the waters. But yeah, man, it's a very peculiar sort of situation that my favorite author is born the day after me. It's you know, it's amusing, it's interesting, it's cool in all of that regard. And now that I think about it, before starting the show proper, I am thinking share this across the socials, which is kind of the dutiful thing to do. Gosh, I am not willing to spend money on the ad-free YouTube, and yet they constantly ask me if I want it, and I'm just like, no, I don't want it. But just to give you guys a little bit of insight about the awesomeness of my weekend, as far like, despite the fact that my birthday fell on a Monday, you know, especially when you get in your 30s, it's like you're celebrating one less year of life, unfortunately. And I know that's rather morbid, but it is what it is. And so it becomes like a week-long celebration of sorts. And so I spent a lot of awesome time with Lady Catherine. We went to some great restaurants, got some sushi, got some pizza, all that good stuff, my personal favorites. And then last night, or excuse me, 2 nights ago, because the birthday is kind of a fog. So on Sunday evening, the 19th here in Arizona, we got to see Modest Mouse. I don't know if anybody is familiar with Modest Mouse in this particular group, or if you are Stephen King readers, but Isaac Brock is a wacky motherfucker, and he is very, very strange. And I've been a fan of his since, you know, Lonesome Crowded, and, you know, way back to even Long Drive, you know. But personal favorite is Moon in Antarctica, and so we got to see them live, myself and my buddy Michael Tech, and so that was a blast. And just gonna share this proper, and then we be goods to go. And so once again, everybody, this is gonna be the most AMA that I think I have done since like the 150th episode of the program. And so if you have any sort of Stephen King question to just get this palaver going, I would be very appreciative. I have a lot of other stuff on the dock, including everything that we're going to be covering the rest of the year. I'm going to give a preview of that from Books of the Month to some of the episodes that I have planned. So I'm going to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit, but really more so than anything, this is a celebration of Sai King, and I am very, very supremely excited to be sharing that with all of you. So, okay. I just want to celebrate. I think that's what I'll go with, that I just want to celebrate. That's what we're going with. But please, continue in the discussions there. I just want to celebrate. I hate to disregard everybody. Not the intention. When you're trying to get everything. Oh, okay, select all. That's what I want. Okay, copy so that I can put this on both the main feed and then also in the Facebook group too. So yes, it is a process of due diligence, and I significantly appreciate all of you for bearing with me and being such badasses. And if anybody has an awesome weekend story or something cool, Sai King or Joe Hill related, holy shizzle! We just did a trailer reaction to the second season of Lock and Key, and it's just further testament to the fact that King's Kid, man, he's doing the work, man. He really legitimately is. I love Joe Hill. Black Phone, as you guys all know, is coming out sometime early next year. So there's a lot of exciting things grooving through that proverbial pipeline. And okay, so there we go. Just making sure everybody is well in tuned. Okay. All right. I'm excited. And you guys are actually going to hear a... Sorry. So both myself and Lady Catherine, doing the work from home thing, it's interesting, and I just didn't want that sort of disruption. Okay, move that in a little bit so you can see my Ugg mug. Okay, so let's get it started properly, everybody. Long days and pleasant nights, fellow travelers, along the path of the beam. I'm known on this level of the tower as Jaime and Fuego, and if it please you, join me here for a bit of palaver on... Yeah! Stephen King, and I'm sorry if I disrupted your earbuds or any of that silliness, but the reason I have such fervency and just excitement is because today, September 21st, is none other than the birthday of Sai King, and I believe he's 74 today, which makes me feel hella old because I started doing this show when he had his 69th birthday. And so how the time has flown, and it always proverbially does. But yes, obviously, welcome so very graciously and cordially to the horror show. And yes, I will be your guide for some discussion and some just reverence, I guess, for everything that is Stephen King here on his birthday. And who knows, we may veer into some stuff with Tabby or Joe or any of the other posterity of his, connections of his, even Peter Straub. I mean, goodness Lord. But, more often than not, it's just very peculiar that my favorite author is born the day after me, but yet also that he is not actually born on the 19th, despite his just massive conviction and discussion of importance about that particular number. And if you have ever read the essay that he has in the revamped version of The Gunslinger, because I am a tower junkie, everybody. But yeah, he talks about how the year of 19 is just so very formative and prolific because it is really where somebody, whether they want to or not, has to become an adult. And so it's really cool in that regard. And yeah, it's one, I love those just King essays where, whether it's on writing or anything else, where it's him talking to us, to the constant readers. And yeah, it's just really cool and really personal, I guess, is the best way I would describe it. And so, yeah, rad status. In any event, though, we are here to celebrate, and most notably, since we have kind of veered into celebration proper, we are going to be talking at least a little bit about his Mammoth, this monster right here. Yeah, which is it. I was originally thinking I wanted to do a revisited sort of situation, but man, the demands of trying to get through that book this past month, when I'm also trying to get through Desperation, when I'm also trying to get through Dune, shout out to Mike Kearns, to just do at least some insight with regards to that. There was no feasible way that I was going to be able to revisit that wonderful book of his. But I will most definitely say that from the times that I did read it previously, and I think, if I recall correctly, this is Mike Kearns' personal favorite. And so, once again, Mike's book reviews is a badass destination for a immense amount of knowledge that I don't even have the slightest grasp of. If you're like fantasy fans, and like if you're in the Wheel of Time, goodness Lord, man, give Robert and all of the coverage that Mike has given Jordan stuff some attention, because it's really awesome. And but yes, I believe this is Kearns' personal favorite. It's in my top 3. It fluctuates, as I've talked about constantly, because of the fact that you've got Pet Sematary, you have The Stand, and then you have this one. And really, at this point, Dead Zone, and shout out to Andrew Thompson, I feel like Dead Zone is so overlooked in its utter brilliance, and it's aged well. We all know the scene in this that everybody points to. So there's certain things that have aged better than others, but Dead Zone has aged tremendously as far as King's canon goes. But yeah, I love the structuring of this book more so than anything. And for all the people who just adore that 2017 version of it, and I'm going to be candid, everybody, it was our coverage of the 2017 It film that made our channel blow up. And we have kind of slinked back a little bit, strong numbers and great palaver and cap with everybody. But as far as just like bonkers growth, yeah, the Year of the King was the year where everything just went so significant. And so for that reason, I'm definitely appreciative, as I know Cecil, as the showrunner and, other producer, most definitely is. But it's just kind of a peculiar anomaly of sorts. But I still, and I'm with Kearns, I prefer the structuring of this and of the miniseries, where you're jumping back and forth between the timelines. I really prefer that. And obviously, it's a thing that that Gary Dauberman adopted in the sequel film. So it's like, okay, we loved seeing just the kids in the first film, but in the sequel film, they had initially said it was going to be just adults, right? But that's not what happened. We did the jumping back and forth, and then just the the timbre in Wolfhard's voice and stuff, and the fact that he has grown so much. I mean, yeah, it was a strange sort of decision, but I think it was because of the fact that certain peeps like me did not like those aspects. But man, this book is, despite the strange bit that happens near the end of it, because it is near the end, and I like not only the parallels, but I adore the aspect of history that is presented here, and not just the black spot. I mean, we're talking the Viking, not the Viking fight, the lumberjacker fight. We're talking about the burning down when the kids are going for the egg hunt. Those interludes that Mike Hanlon did are structurally such a fascinating thing that King decided to devise for this, and it was really dope in that regard. And even though we did not see it in its full fruition, holy shit, dude, the chapter about Patrick Hotstad, whatever the hell, yeah, we finally got to see him because he wasn't in the miniseries. But yeah, he was most definitely, and played by a very gifted actor who did herald some justice, I must admit, in the Stand series on CBS. I didn't like that series very much, but I enjoyed his portrayal of Harold. I really did. I thought it was solid. But in any event, that actor from Florida, American dude, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, we didn't see his demise as Patrick as disgustingly. I mean, given the BJ to the bully and then the leeches and all that. It's still, but the backstory of him in this particular book is still one of the most sinister and terrible, like the crib killing. Holy shizzle, dude. It is so messed up. The fact that he was probably as evil as the ancient evil that these kids were contending against. And so I think that's a really cool dynamic. I mean, I don't know if you could say cool, but maybe fascinating, intriguing. I guess those are better words as opposed to giving any sort of glorification. But yeah, all of the interludes in this are what really make the book so special, and the structural flashback nature of the fact that we see Bevy with abusive husband, and we see the fact that Bill is so successful, and just all of these different things. I like the fact that it jumped around, jump up, jump up, and get down. Yeah, I think that 2017 it was kind of, dare I say, a flash in the pan. You know, because everybody wanted another Stranger Things, or they wanted another, I don't know. For me, Monster Squad, to be honest. But yeah, I adore this book. And despite that one particular scene that I don't think is aged very well, and I would contend that it probably had a lot to do with the fact that King was about to get sober. I mean, Tommy Knockers came out like right after this, if I'm not mistaken. And so, yeah, it was a peculiar, strange, like sort of time for Sai King. But yeah, man, I could go into some more negative things for the fact that he actually wrote that bit. But I want to go to the comment section, since it seems like there is actually a bevy of peeps, and I'm hoping that's because of the fact that today is Sai King's birthday, Sai King's 74th, if I am not mistaken. So let's give, and once again, everybody, this is an AMA. Please, anything Sai King related, whether, you know, film or television or obviously book, which is where everything originates with him, please give that sort of request, insight, whatever. Let's have that palaver, please. Okay. Richard Ford said, happy birthday to you and Steve, dude. Amen. Yes, the fact that we are so closely approximated is very cool in that regard. Greetings from Chile. Feliz cumpleaños. Yes, thank you so very much. Felipe Ojeda. Thank you so very much, man. It is a triumph and awesome bit of just instance and, I don't know, convenience. It's super easy, barely an inconvenience. At the bookshelf, or yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff back there. Okay, so Special K, Stephen King is a Satan. Okay, well, that's obviously not the Special K that I know that shares a bed with me. So I guess that is. So we do have trolls on board, everybody. Interesting. Okay. Happy late birthday. I love Modest Mouse. Yeah, I love Modest Mouse too. And that's why I was so very blessed to get to see them on the Birthdeezy. And yeah, Isaac Brock is a friggin' freak, dude. Float On is so good. Yes. Yeah, a lot of people like that one. That was what put them on the proverbial map. It was Dramamine for me. But a classmate of mine is friends with the drummer of Modest Mouse. That's interesting, Zach, because of the fact that I think it's Jedediah something. Yeah. He left the band briefly and then he came back. It was like that weird sort of situation. Another Day of Living Now, song stuck in my head. Okay. So we have Dan Ely says, just started Dead Zone today for the first time, seen the movie. Okay. Great thing about the Dead Zone is that the movie is fantastic, despite the fact that it significantly condenses a lot of aspects. I feel, and I've talked about this on the show before, that Sai King was really trying to veer away from horror with the Dead Zone and write the great American novel, so to speak. And it's because of the fact that it's like, you know, you're at a carnival and, you know, you're playing games, and the whole fact that he implemented like politicians and that sort of aspect. I mean, I still say that Stilson is one of the scariest people that King has ever written, especially when you see his political upbringings, where he was like the door-to-door Bible dude, right? Kills the dog, like all that messed up stuff. I mean, and oh shit, now I am worried that I'm spoiling aspects for said viewers. So I will refrain, but yes, I adored the Dead Zone. It's probably it's probably a Dark Tower book, in the fourth place, and then Dead Zone is like right there. And so I've been meaning to do like a reappropriated after finishing everything, because when I did that first video, it was like 3 favorite adaptations and 3 favorite books. I hadn't read everything yet, so perhaps that's not particularly fair. Nothing changed in the top 3 though, so that's the thing. But as far as we have our great tier list that Cecil curated, which have been a ton of fun in that regard. But okay, Bull Squad says, hi Fuego, hola Bull Squad. And then we have Amy. I'm not sure why, but it just didn't do anything for me. Well, and that's the thing. I would contend, and since I brought it out, I have to just look at this beautiful edition. And Blue from Century Dance, Cemetery Dance, gives me so much shizzle about this. The fact that this delightful, God, this crap goes for like a Jeezy now. Spent like $100 for it, when it was initially coming out. But it was all the resurgence from the film, obviously. But yeah, and I could see where if you're not into old school horror, especially in the fact that the book veers with the antagonist beyond, all the different formations that Bob Gray, Pennywise, kind of takes, whether it's classic werewolf, whether it's I don't know, like there is the shark bit too, so there's lots of instances where an immense amount of callbacks, I guess, if that makes sense. And so I could see people being like, oh well, none of these callbacks really relate to me and my particular horror taste. And also the fact that it is a brick. I think there's a reason why a lot of younger horror fans, I still like to claim that I'm Gen X, but no, Cecil is the last of Gen X. I'm just after, and they were calling us Gen Y at one particular point, those who were born in the early 80s up through, I think, the early 90s. But yeah, man, now they call us millennials, and I'm like, I don't identify with millennials. I identify with Generation X. But the point being that I still like physical media. I still like digesting stuff in a lengthy sort of process, whether it's a TV series that has like 20 something episodes in a season, or whether it's a book that's like 600-700 pages long, if not more, which we often have a Psych King. And so when I look at stuff on the CW, like 2-sentence horror and things of that nature, I know it's because of the fact that just like in basketball, and I rewatch basketball probably once a month, guys. I'm gonna just be honest about that. Where the owner of the beers is like, we measure attention span in nanoseconds. That is really modern social media, and not just for like younger kids, or whatever. It's the same thing. It's like click, move, click, go, click, whatever. And so I know this is me just kind of waxing a little bit about it, and I'm seeing like some of the dust that was on the cover of that case. But yeah, I can see why it would potentially be off-putting for certain people, whether young or old, because of the fact that it's a incredibly dedicated sort of situation, and unless you are willing to put that time in, you are not going to get the satisfaction of the situation. And so that is why Revisited, as I was initially thinking I was going to call this, but just really wanted to discuss everything Psych King, because there's lots of other stuff to discuss, whether it's every product in production, development, whatever, whether it's the rest of the year here on Hail to Stephen King and some of the episode ideas that I have. I want to have this awesome palaver with all of you, because it's a celebration, bitches, if I'm gonna quote Rick James. So okay, cycling through. Didn't you write a song about Johnny Smith? No, well, Austin, it was a song that was inspired by just, it was a song called A Sad Departure for a Lonely Fighter. and it was with my very first band. We went through various monikers. There was I Lie, there was Relic, Relic Rellik. Trinity, we call ourselves at one particular point since we were a trio. But yeah, a sad departure for a valiant fighter. And the lyrics that I wrote were essentially a sacrifice that's never known. And I've always been kind of intrigued by that concept of somebody who is willing to lay down their life, but with no recognition of any kind whatsoever. I always thought that was a really dope concept. And in hindsight, that's the way I've always kind of perceived Johnny Smith, especially since, law enforcement kills him. Spoilers, I guess. But okay. As we continue forward, Dom, it reread. Okay. So Dominic Audie is saying it reread first 25-ish years coming next year for me. Finished Desperation 2 weeks ago. Okay. All right. So Wizard and Glass is amazing, says Dan Ely, and I completely concur. Wizard and Glass is actually my favorite of the Dark Tower series, as I've talked about in various AMAs and reviews and stuff like that. It's very, very close to the Wastelands. Like, it's almost, you could ask me on a certain day which one I would prefer, and it's like kind of a, flip a coin sort of situation. But the more I've thought about it, especially because of the fact that you get the best of both worlds, so you get the new Ka-Tet and all of the awesomeness and all of the stand connections, and that is really dope, and the different Topeka, and yet we do the flashback. And I think there's a reason why King went back in The Wind Through the Keyhole and had Roland sit down at a fire and tell a story. It was because of the fact that the whole, especially in some of the later volumes, it's all about the just glorification of storytelling and trying to keep your listeners interested or your readers interested. But there is something very amazing about the fact that, remember, guys, we didn't used to be able to write down stories. We didn't used to be able to put stories on a screen and that be a thing. What it really used to be before was people would tell each other stories by the campfire. And I mean, and being here in the States, Native Americans and, various others, it was like, that was how stories traveled. They traveled by word of mouth, and also found their nuance of change based on that word of mouth. And that aspect has always been so supremely fascinating to me and super fucking cool, is that stories could adapt and evolve and potentially become better, with somebody else telling it. And that's probably why, yes, you can say the source material is always better. But there have most definitely been instances where the source material has been elevated with somebody else, like recanting it, retelling it. And I've always found that aspect to be like supremely intriguing and super, super, super dope. Okay. So Joe Esposito says the interludes are why I argue the 2017-2019 It should have been an HBO production. When people don't realize that, you don't need to focus on Pennywise that much to tell the story of it. Agreed, because of the fact that, Joe, as you pointed out, dude, it's so multi-generational at that particular point, and that's also why I don't think they should have made a Castle Rock series. Sorry, guys. I mean, there's been some great stories like Needful Things and Sundog and various others, but I would genuinely contend that if you want a plethora, just an immense area to have a single season be a single year of, Gray's reoccurrence. So you could have done a year with the mobster shootout. You could have done a year like a season essentially with the lumberjacks. You could have done a year with the kids, and so it would all be leading up to something. But as we all know, if you have read it, there is always a big like culminating situation, but there's also like little mini bits of bullshit that transpire over the course of the lead up. It's just like getting the gears turning, like the energy, roaring for the consumption of disgusting. And yeah, I genuinely think that would have made a, like, Dairy, as I've said, would have made a better TV series than Castle Rock. But yeah, man, I don't know why. There's a reason it only lasted 2 seasons. Sorry, Charlie. Sorry. Okay. Joe furthers up that you can do entire episodes without Pennywise. Amen. Yeah, you could. It would not be necessary. And everybody, just to let you know, please, a question, something for us to discuss. This is not just the celebration of Stephen King's birthday, but an AMA. If we go dead air, losing ratings, I have so many things for us to discuss as far as upcoming projects and many other things. But more so than anything, I want to hear from all of you on King's birthday. 74. Happy 74, Sai King. We friggin' love you, dude. Okay. Awesome autocorrect on Hawk Starters Fridge. Okay. Joe goes further in. I'm going to defend that scene. It isn't written in a sexual or gratuitous way to arouse the reader. It's a strange scene, but it works with the context of what has just happened. And, Joe, I will politely disagree, at least as far as the fact of its necessity. Still, I feel like there could have been a coming together of the losers that didn't entail all of them, getting a taste, so to speak, without getting into gross details and stuff. It is really, for me, one of those King situations where I don't know what to say. I don't know if it was the drugs he was on at the time or whatever, but it's not going to make me like blacklist Homeboy or anything of that nature, especially with my adoration for everything that he has done. And yet still, it's a peculiar situation. And I'm with you, Joe, in the fact that I get the intention behind it, but it still feels very strange to me. And most of the women CRs that I've talked with have been just like, yeah, that we just don't look at that. So in any event, JP says happy birthday. Well, it's not my birthday anymore. It's Stephen King's birthday, peeps. Okay, Ethan Beanie says, hi from Northern Ireland. Any thoughts on if Revival will ever get an adaptation? Well, Ethan, as having the last name Callahan, yeah, that's the real moniker, everybody. I'm super disappointed about the fact that Mike Flanagan, of all people, Mike fucking Flanagan, was supposed to be doing Revival, and yet the studio was like not stoked about the ending, which everybody who has read Revival knows that the ending to Revival is so dark and so depressing and awesome in that regard, because I like when horror is actually horror and it's scary and it's messed up, and so that's pretty dope. But yeah, unfortunately, Flanagan was not able to get funding for that film. I'm thinking at this particular point that, I mean, unless they see a significant resurgence in the King stuff in the next few years with like Salem's Lot, Dark Half, some of the stuff that they're planning as far as remakes go, I'm skeptical significantly about if we will ever see Duma or Revival or even Insomnia. I still think Insomnia could be a really awesome TV series. Just take out the tower connections, make it just about the abortion debate, make it just about the fact that this elderly gentleman who is losing his mind from insomnia and the loss of his wife is going crazy, and the extra worldly, I mean, maybe some Easter eggs, kind of like what they did with Lacey's story, and like a little nod and, kind of, just, wink sort of situation. But I don't know. Unless this next just rank of Stephen King stuff goes about really badassly, I'm kind of thinking the chances for stuff like Revival are very, very slim, which is a super bummer. Super bummer, man. Okay. It was the book that started my King love. Okay. It says Epiphany 73. Awesome. Do you like Cradle of Filth? Well, I love Cradle of Filth. I know a lot of people say Danny is a little bit of a poser, but their cover of Maiden is really, really badass. Anyway, okay. Yes, Dead Zone is great. And that's another thing. I've been planning on trying to do the Dead Zone TV series here on the horror show. So it's like expanding upon the vision is what I was calling it. And so it's Haven and it's the Dead Zone. Those are the two. And yet I've wanted peeps to watch along. And shout out to Juan Marquez, Juan Martiz. Man, I feel like an asshole for not having your name like properly done down here. He's on lots of the different Stephen King Facebook groups. I know he's on the CR group and fans of Stephen King, whatever. There's so many others besides the Stephen King. But Juan Martinez, I believe is his name. But he was like, let's form some watch-alongs, man. Let's really do it. I want to. And so maybe that would be a portion we could cover with like the Patreon or, there's various opportunities for us to do that sort of interaction, because I feel like that's the most fun when we're, even if it would be like a chapter by chapter reread, and we're like, okay, we read a chapter and then we all discuss it, character motivations, favorite lines, that sort of thing. And I mean, similar to even a movie. And I've covered most of the Stephen King films. Next week is going to be Hearts in Atlantis, which features the, sadly departed Anton Yelchin, but also Anthony Hopkins. It's the same sort of prototype that I was just mentioning for Insomnia, okay? Where you could legitimately do a film and then just cut out the tower connections. As much as I love them and as rad status as I find them to be, it's like they're, for the casual viewer, not ultimately necessary. And so, yeah, bring it. Make Insomnia, please, because, Hearts in Atlantis gave us the, just confirmation that you don't necessarily need to do everything Crimson King, so to speak. Okay, so what else we got? It's all good. Read up Carnival Scene this morning. Okay, Tony says, happy birthday, Sai King. Main stand up. Yes, I am so very just intrigued, and I've never been to Maine. Yeah, I've been trying to do this like sort of pilgrimage, which I did similarly when I went to Chicago to see Sai King live for the Sleeping Beauties tour. It was him and Owen. And so that was really dope. But I know that there is like a full-on tour his home and all that other stuff. I would imagine that he's like, yeah, make sure I'm in, Florida when you peeps are doing that, because I don't want to see these freaks and all of their insane fandom. But yeah, someday I shall get that. Okay, Joe is chiming back in. I'm currently reading Drawing of the Three, enjoying it thoroughly so far. After the Gunslinger left me a little bit lost. Yeah, the Gunslinger, the first book, I adore it. Absolutely adore it. Both versions of it. And, there's like some pop culture references that are switched up and so on and so forth. It's like, without getting super spoilery, the original Gunslinger it's like our world has moved on, but King, he did some course corrections, so to speak. And so by the time you get to the revised book one, Gunslinger, it's worlds, other than these. So, I mean, there's only so much you can do in that particular regard, but yeah. I can see why some people have said that it's very stiff. And yes, I know you can make every joke you want about something being stiff, but yeah, it's from a writing standpoint, it's, especially since he did it in an episodic fashion. It was the Sci-Fi and Fantasy magazine that he was doing it installment by installment, as opposed to writing like a full book. And so I don't know. I love it, especially the short film that Cecil and I have been talking about trying to do, which is Gunslinger Palaver, is like the working title that I have for it. And so it's really just two people sitting down by a fire and talking about the nature of the universe in like a supremely psychedelic sort of fashion. And that is what we have been wanting to do for a while. Unfortunately, that and the other film idea have just been pushed because of everything Dylan's New Nightmare And rightfully so. I mean, Dylan's New Nightmare is going to be dope as fuck once we get the borders back open properly and we can get Dave McCrae and everything. So, yeah, if you guys didn't know, I know it's not Stephen King related or anything, but we have a short film that we have been trying to make for like 2 years with border restrictions, and it is called Dylan's New Nightmare. And it is a direct sequel to Wes Craven's New Nightmare with Miko Hughes. Yep, the little kid from that film. He was also on, oh goodness, Full House, and he was Gage. Yeah. In Pet Sematary. And so that's the idea, maybe, that we are trying to push forward. And then he was also in Spawn and so many other things. But so that's what the horror show, as far as filmmaking post-suite, we have been trying for, God, like 2 years now. It's been an interesting sort of thing. So, okay, let's jump back to look at that artwork. Yeah. If you were referring to the amazingness of the Cemetery Dance version, yeah, it's pretty rad status. I definitely got to say. Okay, so John BTK says, what do you think is an underrated Stephen King novel or short story? Great question, John. What I will probably always say is The Reach. The Reach is the final story in Skeleton Crew. And it's about this old woman who has basically lived on this island her entire life and never been to the mainland. So, she's on this like main island, and there's like boats that go back and forth, and yet there's enough as far as like shops and whatever for her to have, just lived perfectly fine in this very condensed, contained sort of situation. And when she knows her time is up, she is walking. So the Reach essentially is where the ocean freezes over and you don't even have to take a boat. You could presumably just walk over to the mainland. And I wanted to make this into a movie for the longest goddamn time, or even a short film or something, man. And it's available as a Dollar Baby. If you guys are not familiar, the Dollar Baby thing that King does is where he allows you as a student or an amateur filmmaker to option something for a buckaroo single doll hair, dude. It's really dope. And it shows so much about his philanthropy and just how terrific he is as a person, despite all of the, weird ideas and stories and stuff that he has delighted us with. Yeah, he's a good dude. And I think that's why as opposed to like paying reverence to somebody that I have like misgivings about, I have no misgivings about Stephen King, man. Stephen King is a solid dude and very creative in that regard. But so he has on StephenKing.com, you can go to the Dollar Babies section, and anything that is not already tied in with film rights. So if it's not been optioned, I guess is the proper terminology. But The Reach is the one that I've wanted to do for so goddamn long, because this old woman, she is walking across the ice to her death, and she sees all of her, and she sees her dead husband, she sees like friends, but yet they're the way she remembers them the best, when they were young and virile and just at the like peak of their life. And there's another Stephen King story called A Face in the Crowd that he co-wrote with Stuart Onan. It has some similar like kind of vibes, because okay, if you've been writing for like 45, almost 50 years, you're going to have some retread. I mean, it's inevitable. And so, yes, there are most definitely Stephen King stories where they are evocative of others that I have previously read. But in this case, I have to say that, I love The Reach. Love The Reach. And I would adore trying to make it myself. So anyway, so Duro says Cecil is the last of everything, including the dinosaurs. Blah, shush kebab, to quote my better half. Okay, M1 says, is the Silver Bullet movie any good? It's coming up on AMC's Monster Fest, and was wondering if it's worth the watch. So M1, I have a very interesting history with that particular film, because of the fact that I don't think it's very good. Because it's not. It could have been, though. And so that film was actually supposed to be directed by Don Coscarelli, Beastmaster, Survival Quest, John dies at the end, Bubba Hotep, and there's a film. It starts with a P. It's a series of films. There's 5 of them. I think it's Phantasm. Yeah, he's done a lot of those. But literally, it could have been really, really dope. Corey Haim was the disabled kid. The book is tremendous, though, and it had Bernie Wrightson illustrations, those just like painted bits of badassery that he put all throughout. And it was supposed to be a calendar initially because of the fact that it has the monthly, January, February, March, April, yada, 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 sort of thing going down. The film, aside from the fact that Busey is bonkers as balls in that film and very amusing in that regard, aside from the transformation scene in the church, that is money, and it's very faithful to what you see in the graphic novel. I guess it's kind of like a novella / graphic novel because of the fact that there are illustrations for every one and the chapters are so short. So it's a little bit different, but I enjoy the film, but I don't love it. Definitely not. And it's one that I think is ripe for a remake. So bring it on, if at all possible. More insight would be from Robert the Wolfman, my dude, Robert Toole, who is here on the channel with us now. And so, okay. Dreamcatcher and Cell, good books. Love Cell. I don't know about that other one, though. I'm kind of... Okay. I am reading Doom and liking it. Okay. I'm assuming Sam meant to say Dune, Herbert, man. Yeah, lots of people are getting into it, which is very cool. Okay. Silver Bullet is Joe says Silver Bullet is fantastic. Okay, want to try to catch the uncut version. AMC has a tendency to cut. Well, of course. I mean, anytime you see something on like broadcast cable, unless it's HBO, Cinemax, whatever, they are going to cut some of the gore. But there's not like an abundance of gore in Silver Bullet. I mean, from what I remember. At least. Okay. Basketball is my favorite comedy. Well, to you, Zach King, because I just watched that movie last night. Goodness Lord. Okay. A Good Marriage. Loved it, says Amy. Yeah, it wasn't bad. Joan Allen in our lead role. That was like pre-King having his massive resurgence. I like the Italian guy who played the husband. Thought he's really good. That was one where I still prefer the short story, and that is an episode that I've wanted to do for the longest time, where it's like when the material was like elevated, when something bigger and better than what was initially like put on board transpired. And so, yeah, man, I think that is a very strong adaptation. Dare I say, I think I like it better than Big Driver, with both of those being from Full Dark, No Stars. I think the acting is a little better, and that's not to, don't like diss on Bello or anything. It's just the fact that I don't like Big Driver that much as a story, and it's so meta in the fact that King even mentions within the story that Last House on the Left, and like he derived inspiration from there. And I don't know if he has the strengths to, put together that sort of tale. But hey, once again, art is subjective, everybody, as y'all know. Okay, New England in the house. Maine, stand up. Beat the Tomahawk, says Tony, and he's probably gone now, so that's fine. King got criticized for writing long books, but I have no problem with it. It says Epiphany 73. Yeah, I think maybe the biggest thing about the fact that King's editor was like, no, just roll with it, dude. Just do your thing. Was, I know it costs more money to like print and produce these like bigger sort of scenarios. And so, even if there's no lack of, topic or quality or anything like that, I could definitely see where they're like, really, Steve, can't you just give us, later? Can't you just give us like the dark half? Can't you, just kind of reel it in? But it's all good in that regard. Okay, so what else we got? Suns jerseys are cool also, bro. Well, I don't think I have one. No, I was going to say I don't have one today, obviously, but I have most definitely rocked them consistently throughout the playoffs. I don't know, with the Lakers like re-upping like maniacs right now, what is going to inevitably happen. But and that's the thing. I'm not like a Cardinals, like pro football sort of person either. I love my shooty hoops, if I'm going to quote South Park. So, in any event. Okay, so Zach King asks, have you heard of the band Murder Rock? I've heard the name. They have an entire album based off King stories, including I Am the Doorway. Whoa. Well, damn, Zach, if they are reaching that far down right off the bat, holy smokies, it's impressive. I've seen various short stories based on I Am the Doorway. I would love to see a like professionally produced sort of situation, since it's one of the best from Night Shift. Like, holy fuck, is that story not rad status? Anybody who is in the know knows, and so that is very cool. Okay, Dominic says, I read it when it came out. Real Gen X. Okay, yes, okay. Tout your real Gen X, Dominic. I'm just teasing, obviously. Its length was half that made, so would love to know space deep inside the characters. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, how do you flesh out characters if there's if there is so little time? I mean, that's where I think film and television, they have a better estimation of just like the shock and awe sort of shit. You know, they're like, just blast the imagery and make everything visceral and make it compelling in that regard. And it's less of a necessity to try to develop any sort of interest within characters. But I don't know. Okay, JJ says, just borrowed a copy of The Outsider from my library. It's been a while since I read King. Well, Outsider is good initially. I will give it that. Do you know if Silver Bullet is streaming anywhere? That is a good thing to inquire. I don't know. I guess I hate to take the time away when I'm doing this. It's a very simple Google search, guys. So all that you do is you're like, okay, film Silver Bullet movie. Yep. I'm sorry, I'm talking like Eric Cartman. It's absolutely terrible. Does not appear that it is searching anywhere, but it is. I mean, you can rent it for $2.99. That's why I am glad that I own the physical media, because if I was like, every time I want to watch something, $2.99, $3.99, $6.99, whatever the hell it is, that's the sort of shit that just drives me bonkers, man. Okay. Zach King also says, Ice 9 Kills. Zach, Ice 9 Kills have been recommended to me anytime Cecil and I are out with the girls. Shout out to Marsha and Susie. Anytime we're out as a team doing convention stuff, everybody constantly Ice 9 Kills. And the fact that I'm in a metalcore band, and yet I try to kind of distance myself a little bit, but I play drums in a metalcore band. And so for that reason, I'm just like, okay, man. It is what it is. Needful Things should be a series, claims Amy, and she is most deaf right. Even if it was a sequel series, Amy, I mean, bring Leland into a different town. Bring him into fucking Derry, dude. I think that could be really rad status, and it could kind of come along in. There's just, so, as ancient as he is, that could be something very special, very distinguished, and very dope. Love Needful Things. Which short story hasn't had an adaptation that deserves one? Well, once again, I said The Reach. But if I was going to go deeper, because of the fact that is it fair if there's been Dollar Babies? I don't know. Willa from Just After Sunset. Like, even just thinking about it and like putting a tear next to my eye, that is the most romantic thing that I think Sai King has ever written, if I'm going to be fair about it. And just the fact that if love can conquer even death, and you will find somebody sort of thing, that wouldn't be a series. That would most definitely be a film, short film, whatever. And I think you could stretch it to a film. They've done it as dollar babies, but I've watched all of them, and I don't think any of them really give the story proper some sort of like credence. I don't know. Most of the stuff from Just After Sunset that is correlated to 9/11, and since we just had the 20th anniversary and all the craziness, I remember where I was. I was sitting in the library at Phoenix Christian High School, and I saw the second plane do its thing live, and that was bonkers. But yeah, the reactionary writing that King did in that book, it just really compels me, and I love it. So yeah, it would be more or less anything from that particular awesome collection. All right, should be adapted to the screen. Well, JJ, the interesting thing about that, dude, check it out. Check it out. They've been trying to make it into a TV series, actually, for quite a while, although it was announced pre-pandemic. That's the thing. Keep in mind, everybody, that we had project after project after project that thought they were going to be filming in regular situations without all of the extra precautions and the money associated with said situations, and they can't do it. And so if you're already on a shoestring budget, do you really think you can muster all of the monetary manpower to do something differently? It was announced as a series because N is fantastic, including the Marvel comic is wonderful. And they also did that visual series. And that's where I have to give a shout out to my dude, Scott Baker, because he was kind enough to send me a copy of Just After Sunset that actually had the DVD, that had the motion series, I think is what they call it. And so Scott Baker, I don't know how often you tune in anymore, man, but you are loved, good sir. Okay, so Nitrama says, I've read the first few pages of Carrie and didn't continue for more than a year. Focused on other stuff. Nice opportunity to catch up. Happy birthday to Stephen King. Well, Carrie is very fascinating in the fact that it's got that cool structuring, in the fact that you have journal entries, you have news reports, from AP, you've got, court documents where what's her name is, just like giving her testimony. So I love that structuring. It was taking some major cues from Bram Stoker, if we're going to be fair about it, like rad status in that regard. And obviously King took major and like Stoker notes with, Jerusalem's Lot, most notably, which is now Chapel 8 on TV. But also with just, I don't know, that sort of invigorous vibe for Salem's Lot. So that was pretty cool. Okay, so we shift along. Hey, just got here. What's the subject? Well, the subject is the fact that it is the birthday of my favorite author, Anthony. And so for that reason, yep, it's a little bit of everything. Would you welcome a thinner reboot? John, I'm totally fine with a thinner reboot. Although I do think the Tom Holland one was pretty badass, and that the makeup work that they did on Homeboy, starting out, super chubbed. It was at the same time where I know Michael Jackson did those music videos where he was like a fat white man and stuff, but Nutty Professor, and it was that sort of transformation was a relatively new thing at the time. And as long as they don't go like super digital, but I actually really enjoy the original Thinner. I would be open for a remake, but I don't know if it's ultimately necessary. So we shall see. We shall see. Okay. Personally, love to see an adaptation of The Long Walk. Well, John, The Long Walk is happening. It is happening right now. Cinema Mike says, late to the party. Hello, all. Yep, it's all totally good, man. Still scores. I'm trying to get caught up. Trying my damnedest, man. Thanks for the buck, JP. Very nice of you. Cheers, Amy. I think the technology available. And that's where I want people to like talk amongst themselves because that is totally cool in that regard. Phantasm is great. Yes, it is. What's up? Happy birthday, my man, Corey. Dude, thank you so very much for the kind wishes, man. And yeah, I hope we get back to Carolina at some particular point, my dude. And your guitar playing is fucking on point. Absolutely. Okay, Cinema Mike says Silver Bowler is dripping with 80s cheese, but I enjoy it due to nostalgia. A more faithful adaptation would be welcome. Yeah, because there's an inherent darkness about the source material, especially the February one, where the woman is like, she's lost her lover and she's so forlorn, and then the werewolf comes in and kills her. Like it's really messed up. It's cathartic, which is often the case. Oh, CP, damn, I don't even think you're still in the chat, man. But thanks for stopping by, dude. I miss you, man. Seriously, do. I would love to see a proper cycle of the werewolf movie taken seriously and done hard R, gory and vicious. No, Anthony is right because of the fact that film, they were trying their damnedest to make it a PG-13, and it was of that era in the 1980s where a lot of stuff that would have most definitely been R-rated, unless it had like, tits and F-bombs, it would have been rated PG-13. And so, yeah, they were kind of mean to it, just kind of no bueno. Okay, so what else we got? Stanley Yaraya that says, greetings from Costa Rica. Damn, we can talk about Stephen King. I love it. Keep it up. Stan, thank you so very much. Gracias, man. I have done almost 300 episodes of this passion, and he's my dude. He truly is. And, kind of warts and all is the way that I would describe it, because warts and all, retread and all, the fact that there's so many similarities and tropes and whatever. But I genuinely feel with Sai King that there's like a heart and a care and a compassion. And for that reason, that's what draws me to him, because those are things that I strive to encompass within myself. And yeah, we all have darkness inside of us. And there's that great Dustin Kensrue song from Thrice where he's like, there's something dark inside of me. Yeah, there's something dark inside of all of us. And yet it's about the ability to rise up and know that being a kind, compassionate, better person is probably better than crapping on people and being a just shitty, yeah, well, I'm the only one that matters. It's like, no, selflessness is a lot cooler, at least for me. So, all right, so where are we at? RJ Price. Oh, man, I am so glad RJ stopped in. Yes, this is why I always buy hard copies of my favorite artists and films, those especially King. Yeah, I don't want to bring this around, but I most definitely could. I've done videos previously where I'm like, this is all of my Blu-rays and DVDs. And I know that's like the big thing for everybody to do. It's like, yeah, it's like a dick measuring contest, so to speak, of silliness. But no, I don't want to have a situation where I want to read something or where I want to watch something and it's not immediately available if I love it. So yeah, I'm still a big proponent of, physical media. Physical media is the Shiznito band. Okay, Juan Martinez. Well, Juan, so it's so funny, dude. I was actually talking about you. I'm not sure if you were in the comments section there, tuning in earlier. The whole group watch thing that I've been running by Cecil and trying to figure out. Juan is the inspiration behind that sort of collective, collaborative sort of approach, which I really want to do. And just have all of us keep up, discuss, so on and so forth. Yeah, boy, I'm hoping we can figure it out. So Zach King says, I heard The Jaunt is getting a series. Yep, Zach King is most definitely getting a series, which is what's interesting. So it was initially supposed to be a film, and then the rights lapsed, and somebody new picked it up, and they're like, nah, there is so much as far as storytelling potential that we need to jump over and make it an episodic sort of situation. And I think, I mean, especially in that short story where they jump back and you hear like the scientists perfecting the technology and all that craziness, dude, there is so much that they could do with the jaunt, and I love it. I love anytime Sai King veers into sci-fi. He does not do it in a abundance, but when he does, it's always really fulfilling and super cool in that regard. So, yeah, I'm hopeful that, the announcement of a series and then a series actually going to order and really, really becoming a physical sort of bit, that it's a little bit different. So, okay. And I'm glad that I yapped enough for there to be lots of other things for us to talk about, because, I was really, guys, just going to rant about, okay, so this is the book of the month for October, and this is the slate for things we're going to try to cover. But I just wanted interaction and palaver. Like, let us celebrate Sai King. Let us do that shizzle if you are willing and down and, as, respectfully appreciative. Wow, there's a cricket in my house, and I'm just like, where? Yeah. Oh, wow. So I guess I have to jump on this because Zach King is making a very interesting point. So I've noticed that a lot of CRs are very empathetic, warranted. And so I've wondered, do we love King because we're empathetic, or are we empathetic because we love King? I think it's because a lot of King people are super purists because of the fact that they've been around listening to Homeboy, reading Homeboy for like so long, and let's not be kind of strange about it. There is a definitive disconnect between those who read Stephen King and those who strictly watch Stephen King. We know this is the fact. And especially if you're a CR, you know that is the fact. And maybe there's like a pre-programming of just not wanting to be accepting. I would hope something like Dr. Sleep change people's minds, but then again, that's all credit to Mike Flanagan in the fact that he was somehow able to successfully do a juggling act, which is what that movie was. Dr. Sleep was the ultimate juggling act for anybody who is a Stephen King person, legitimately. Like, holy shizzle, dude. I don't know how he did it, and I'm kind of strangely surprised that I was okay with it, but I was okay with it. And what ended up happening, different from the book with regards to our character, not trying to spoil, and tremendous, probably for my estimation, the best Stephen King adaptation in who knows how long. Please chime in the comments and say if you think there is a better Stephen King. I mean, The Mist is up there, but in the 21st century, what do you guys think is a better Stephen King adaptation than Dr. Sleep? Like, I would really, really be curious to know. Ugh. Got bugs in my house, guys. It's terrible. Dipping into the 80s cheese. Okay, we talked about that. Sorry, I'm just trying to get caught up. And RJ, I am so happy that you were here, or at least we're here. I don't know if you're still chillaxing. Okay, so Cinema Mike says the girl who loved Tom Gordon could make a good movie. Well, luckily it is currently turning into a movie. Yeah, it still has, dare I say, one of the best openings of any King book, where he's talking about life has teeth and bites and all that stuff. Okay. Oh, adaptation of Popsy would be dope. Rubber Soul, Rob. Rob, if you're still here, and I'm so hopeful you're still here, I was thinking about you the entire time, homie, when I was reading the regulators, and as I'm about to do Desperation for the book of the month for September. Regulators is so much better than I remembered. Holy shit. It's bonkers in how, I mean, it kind of loses some steam in the mids, but it is just so violently degaff, and I appreciate that significantly. Oh, Sharon. Oh, the palaver doesn't need any sort of compensation, but thank you. I hope you tune back in at some particular point. Okay. RJ Price says, I came late, not sure if you were asked this yet, but how do you feel about the talk of making another It film based off the origins of Pennywise? So RJ, I've heard murmurings about that, but they were all from like less reputable sources. From what I understand, is it's very similar to what they're thinking. Well, not what they're thinking about doing, what they are doing with Pet Sematary, where they're going to explore in kind of a preferee, prelude sort of situation. And with both franchises, honestly, I'm totally cool with that. Totally cool with that. I mean, my Pet Sematary idea is a sequel, so script already done and everything. And we've just been sitting around trying to make Dylan's New Nightmare. So it's kind of tough in that regard. Okay. Don't think I could not read Insomnia. Oh, Nick Oakes. Can we get a little Sisters of Eluria short? Dude, it's a great idea, especially because of the fact that as Nick knows, and shout out to my homie in the Northwest, it deals with vampires, and it also deals with Roland, obviously young Roland, which most peeps who are aware of my affinities with the journey to the tower, they know that I personally prefer Wind and Wizard and Glass and stuff like that. I love the young Roland sort of stuff. Great pull, dude. And it could probably be done for a seemingly low price. Yeah, we could probably make that movie for like 10 or 20. Shit. File away the brilliance of Nick Oakes for the potential movie after my movie, after Cecil's movie, when we've been trying so hard to make a movie for like 2 years. But dude, Nick, you hit it on the zinger. I actually think I would enjoy doing that more so than even the Gunslinger Palaver, because that's the other, that's the fan film that I've been wanting to make, Gunslinger Palaver. So essentially that chapter in the first book where him and Flag sit down and they talk about the psychedelic nature of the universe. That's what I've wanted to fucking make for the longest time. And sorry for dropping the F-bombs for, all of your disconcerting ears and such. Okay, John BTK says, Randall Flag, who do you think is one of the most evil characters Stephen King has created? Thanks for answering questions. Big fan of the channel. I have gone on record so many times about my absolute adoration of Randall Flagg. And the reason that I loved him so much was the fact that he crossed over between different stories. And Mike Kearns, the very talented, very badass Mike Kearns from Houston, go check out Mike's book reviews, rightfully so. Him and I are both in the same contingent when it comes to Randall Flagg. But there are a lot of runner-ups that I think are just compelling in their own regard. Leland Gaunt, man, from Needful Things, I have long found him, especially in the ancientness of his presence, I have long found him to be a very fascinating villain. Carrie's mother. Yeah, Carrie's mother is just creepy and strange. Although I feel like that was more elevated with the film. You didn't see as much of it and just feel that sort of tension. And that's where, as much as I love Carrie, I can't wait to do that countdown where it's about Stephen King films that I feel like improved on the source material. Because Carrie is great, but I do feel like De Palma improved on the source material. I do feel like The Mist, with Darabont was improved upon the source material, and so that'll be a very, very fun sort of discussion. Okay. This silly Slipknot and Stephen King back there. It's good fun. But okay. So what are your thoughts on the Firestarter reboot? I'm about to finish the novel and loving it. I saw the original as a kid and hope the reboot is more hardcore. Keep the scope here. Okay, so shout out to Travis, obviously. I'm intrigued. Okay, that's really about the extent that I'm going to give it, because yes, I like the derpy score in the first one, and yeah, Drew is cute as Charlie and stuff like that. But I watched the sequels, and they also did a remake too, TV-wise. I liked Rekindled, honestly. Malcolm McDowell, you can find it on the Films That Forgot the Face of Their Father, which is the thing that I've been doing for quite a while. I'm a big friggin' fan of the franchise and the series and stuff. I just don't know about Jason Blum, and the fact that Blumhouse is doing this is where I find the extent of my trepidation and curiosity about quality. And so, but trying to maintain an open mind. Zac Efron, right? I think is playing the father. So I don't know, everybody. We shall see. But well, the R rating just is able to push it so much more so now than it did before. So I am hopeful, but I'm not trying to like hold my breath, I guess, if that makes sense. Okay, I stick to physical media as well, especially for the stuff I love, says Nitrama Tatut. And yeah, that's why I almost want to give you guys like a brief little tour, and you're like, look at the home of Casa de Fuego and see all of the rows of stupid DVDs and Blu-rays that I've spent so much freaking money on over the years. But I was just watching, for instance, Return of the Living Dead the other night, and I was so happy after I got done watching it because of the fact that I had another disc to pop in, and it had interviews with, Quigley and with O'Bannon and all these people, and it was so cool. I love supplemental material, and if you are streaming something, you are not going to get any of that. And so, yeah, it's kind of a part of it's kind of like par for the process, par for the course. But I love physical media. Amen to that. Okay, I did like the. Finally the Stan TV series. I love the power of God shown in a ball of lightning zapping people too. I adore that. Okay. After I'm done with Billy Summers, not wild on it so far, says John BTK. Might give Duma Key a try. John, Duma Key is dope. It's another that's excessive in its scope, but yet it's so brilliantly written. Wireman is one of my favorite characters that King has ever put to page. And so yeah, John, if you're still sticking around, dude, yeah. In my opinion, Duma is a far superior book to Billy Summers. Billy Summers had a ending that got me. I will give it that. But I was not the biggest fan of that book, unfortunately. Okay. Look, we shall try to catch up. I think we're like almost caught up. Personally, I think The Mist, especially. Okay. The movie's ending. All right. Yeah, there's my dude one. I honestly like Gerald's Game better than DS, but both are up there among the best. Yeah. A Good Marriage. Okay, holy crap, we are almost done. Well, that's why there's viewership that is tinkering down. Okay, what about the 3 Carrie film adaptations, says Staff CX? Yeah, the fact that there has been multiple Carrie adaptations. I mean, obviously Sissy Spacek is the most iconic and the OG, so to speak. But they did Carrie 2 Rekindle, or excuse me, not Rekindle, The Rage Carrie 2, which I have reviewed here on the channel. And dude, if you're talking about the American Pie of Carrie movies, dude, it's not bad. It's not good, but I mean, it's definitely not bad. And then they tried doing it as a television series in 2003, I believe NBC. I touched on it briefly. I think it's the weakest, even compared to the Chloe and sequel and everything else. I think it's the weakest of the Carrie adaptations, with Ryan Murphy involved too. You're just like, what the hell? What happened here, guys? So that was the thing, unfortunately. But and the fact that they're trying to work on a new one right now with a non-binary sort of Carrie, which is, hey, obviously very cool. And many of my friends are LGBTQ, so I'm not going to talk any smack. But I guess if there's any way you could make Carrie more interesting as far as the persecution and like the picking on sort of situation, that's your best bet, because that is it's the new norm, even if it sucks. So, okay. Great show. Happy birthday to you as well, Fuego. Oh, gracias very much. The Mist is a top one for me, and I did love the new It movies, even with the changes. Well, damn, Mr. Mikey Trauma Trash, Mr. Mikey Mnemonic, I have missed you so very much, mate. And I hope you are doing good on the other side of the pond. Rolo has been so freaking weird, but I've missed your antics, good sir. Okay. Super Tenor says, hello, Fuego and King. I need to read Regulators. Never could. Right after Desperation, I was just confused. I think I'll do it now. Yeah, and that's just to give some proper clarification, everybody. So Desperation and The Regulators they're like twinner novels, as we say inside King's Speech. And the reason for that is because you have characters in each book that are in different situations and have different motivations. Now, some are a little more similar, and then there's others that are like totally different. And it was really King just being like, DGAF, I'm going to do whatever the hell I want because I'm the best-selling author in the friggin' world, and who gives a rat's ass? Who gives a rat's ass Thursday? I'm sorry, like, basketball is like the most everly quotable film you guys will ever see. If you have not seen Basketball, holy shit, the most everly quotable film. You don't even have to like sports, man. He's 10 years old and he smells like Robert Downey Jr. or whatever she says. All right. Okay. Yeah. But so Super Tenor, you most definitely need to read both of them, but maybe give them some spacing, I would say, because when I first read both of them, I was so confused, similar to you, where I was completely committing character motivations in one book to another book, and it just felt strange. So maybe giving it some time to breathe between the two would be a better sort of approach. Okay. Films that improve on the source material are mostly based on novellas and short stories. And that's where Juan Martinez, man, Juan is most totally right. It's where you have the room to actually, I guess, like shift things around and tinker, so to speak, if that's an acceptable word. And especially because of the fact that, larger King stuff, you have to condense. Shorter King stuff, you have to expand upon. And so for that reason, Juan Martinez, man, is 100% right in the fact that when you have that room to expand upon stuff and make it your own, it's a lot more interesting than when you have to like trim and, like cut the fat, which you often and pretty much just about every time have with King's regular stuff. So, Okay, as I'm hoping we get a graphic novel of it at some particular point. Well, there's at least a graphic novel of the first bit. Yeah, guys. Oh goodness, I'm trying to remember where it is, because when you have all of these shelves of things, so Vincent Rush is the guy who did a amazing initial. It's the first scene with Georgie and Pennywise, and he goes by many names and stuff like that. But yeah, Vince Rush did such a dope job of making a comic self-released and published and financed and everything. He did a tremendous job with that particular thing. I would love to see them do something along the lines of The Stand and It, where they did like a full-on comic sort of adaptation, and how rad status that was. That could most definitely be something pretty key, as you guys all know. So, okay, so jumping back on. Yep, The Rage Carry 2 is fun. 90s movie for an for an indirect sequel. Yeah, Mikey, you were so right, man. I find that movie fun, and the fact that it's got that like goth industrial sort of vibe, and some of the sexy chicks in it. And in fact, there was actually I think there were like 2, maybe 3 American Pie actresses that were in that movie. But okay, Zach King says Duma Key also has one of the most heartbreaking deaths in the King book. Agreed. Seriously, Zach, that death is right there along with the death of the girl in Cell. Yeah, both of those deaths were just like traumatizing in their nastiness, in their utter nastiness. So, yeah, and also the meaninglessness too, and so that really says a great deal. Okay, Abigail says, Abigail, I'm suddenly thinking King Diamond. Hello, King Diamond. Anyway, hello, Jaime and Fuego. Have you ever had the chance to meet Mr. King? I ran into him in the lobby of a movie theater in NYC coming out of seeing The Running Man. Wow. Well, you met him like 30-something years ago, so that's pretty dope. And where he was probably a little more accessible, I would assume, in comparison with right now. No, I've never met Stephen King, and it's a question that I've had various times. I would love to, and I have an entire repertoire of questions, like why did you put yourself in the 6 Dark Tower book, like stuff like that. But yeah, I would probably be very kind and very sweet, because he is influenced and just made my life so much better, and so many peeps are just like, yeah, I want to rage about this, rage about that. And I'm like, no, I'm going to give appreciation for the peeps that created and just enhanced my life based on that. I think that sort of mentality and that sort of positivity is a much better way to look at creators, as opposed to bitching about why they didn't do things that you wanted or whatever. So, but hey, art is subjective, as I always say. And so it is okay if you want to rage. You want to rage. Anyway. Okay. Minus99 says, long days and pleasant nights. Just watched the Dark Tower series last Friday. Dark Tower series? Oh, just finished the Dark Tower series. I almost dropped this series, but you and Mike from Mike's Book Reviews reignited my love for the Ka-Tet. Thankee Sai. Yeah. Well, it's not going to make me say that I feel like the end of the Dark Tower series is good, per se. I think that's one of the things that me and Cy Kearns can both just kind of double down on, in the fact that we were significantly disappointed with what King decided to do. And I think it was really him just like questioning his own mortality, And so he forced the issue. And that's one of the biggest things. he says he never outlined stuff, and then he was like, well, I'd outlined some Dark Tower stuff because I didn't know if my son would carry on the series for me, as in Joe. And you're like, oh, right. And I love Steve. That's why we're here celebrating his birthday, everybody. But it's a very kind of strange situation when you think about the coulda, woulda, shouldas, and so on and so forth. And so 5 is good. Yeah, 5 is quite good, as a matter of fact, until the back half. 6 I have major problems with because it feels like kind of a crossover book. And then 7 is 7 is how King decided to end it. So loop-de-doop. That's all I'll say for those who don't want to get it spoiled any other way. Okay. I would love to see King movies in the video games, whether it be adaptation or original story, says Joel. Well, there is that game that you can play online. It's on StephenKing.com, and it basically deals with the different corporations going after each other. Anyway, can you imagine The Mist as a survival horror game? Says Cinema Mike. That would be amazing. I am not disagreeing with that. Yeah. Stephen King and Maiden are live, says Super Tenor. Well, best Iron Maiden album? I mean, Peace of Mind, or I don't know, Fear of the Dark is really good too. It's it's tough. I'm sure that's gonna start a ignite. And honestly, Brave New World. Brave New World was what got me into Iron Maiden. Favorite short story from King, says Bernal. Favorite short story of all time. Damn, that is a rough one. It's like, do I want to go scary, or do I want to go romantic, or do I want to go... I might honestly say, I might say Willa. Yeah. And that's really more so than anything because of the fact that, like, if you love somebody and you're both dead and you're going to find somebody even in the midst of the other world, there's something very cool about that to me. I don't know. It's the most unique thing I think he's ever written, and it's why, like, Willa and The Reach are the two Sai King stories that I would want to adapt more so than any for $1 baby. Okay. All right, Zach King says, I might be one of the only ones who found it fun that King inserted himself into the Dark Tower. Glad art is subjective, as you say. No, Zach, you're right. I mean, I think the interesting thing about that, especially with the fact that he goes through the, like, getting run over by a car and all that different shit. But the interesting thing about that is that it really did give kind of the conclusive verification that there are other worlds than these, including our own. So, yeah, there's all kinds of alternative realities we can write about, but there is still our own world. And I thought that was fascinating. And I've only reread 6, 3 times at this particular point, but you're right, dude. In the fact that it was very meta, and I do at the end of the day enjoy a lot of meta storytelling, whether it's Scream or whatever else. I'm cool with that. Yeah, I'm totally cool with that. Oh, Ben Grimm. Lots of Salem Slot stuff coming out lately. Chop Away, the new Salem Slot movie, even Castle Rock Season 2. I had the pleasure to meet Ben Grimm a couple of years ago at Texas Frightmare, I think it was, dude. And we were getting out of I think it was an Evil Dead panel. I'm just trying to remember, but super rad, very cool dude, and very prolific on Letterboxd too, as far as like ratings and assessments and stuff like that. So yes, Ben Grimm, everybody, most definitely, and Grimm with 2 M's, get on there and give some estimation. All right. And as I look, and as I'm being told that I've been on for the extent of time, John BTK, was glad I stayed up for this. Thanks. Yes, absolutely, man. Very much so. Travis Miller says, how many King books do you have? Well, Travis, I have every Stephen King book. So I don't have a particular count, especially for the sheer silly fact that there's many that are duplicates. And so thank you for the inquiry, but I don't have an exact number for you, sadly. No. I'd love to see a new imagined version of Kurt Barlow. Anyone else? I love that character. The Martian House still scares me. Truly, dude. And John is very on point in the fact that we saw what they did in the Rob Lowe version. And it wasn't, dare I say it wasn't bad, but it was obviously a more humanistic look in comparison with the kind of, I don't know, retread of Nosferatu, which we had, in Tobe Hooper's version. So I'm trying to hold out hope, significant hope in that particular regard. But yeah, I'm very much about it. Cinema Mike says, I thought books 6 and 7 became too concerned with plot and explanation. It felt very mechanic. I preferred the earlier, more character-focused entries in the series. Just me, though. And Cinema Mike, I am 100% about you. I definitely feel like there was something with the Dark Tower where you were able to let stuff rest, able to let, I don't know, like leave it to settle, so to speak. I guess if that's a good way of putting it, let it simmer, let it rest, so to speak. And often it's like, okay, I come back after doing all these other things, and yet in the case of the back 3, it was like, okay, I might die. I'm fearing my own mortality, so I'm just going to bing, bang, boom, like just knock them all out. And it was a hindrance, in my opinion. I really like stuff in 5, and I really like stuff in 7. 6, 6 is the weakest of the entire series, regrettably. We're going to be fair about it. But yeah, it just wasn't given a chance to breathe or like whine, like aerate or something. I don't know. That's the way I felt about it. And yet went through the keyhole where you give it time and then you come back to it. I love that book. So yeah, I think it was the condensity of the storytelling and the pressure aspect in the fact that he probably told his peeps, he was like, I'm going to knock out these last 3 Dark Tower books. And they're like, oh, okay. Bad decision. Bad decision, Steve. Happy birthday. I love you. Bad decision, Steve. It is what it is. So I will most definitely second that notion. Alan Wake is a great King-esque game from 2010 that's being remastered, reissued next month, I think. So Super Tenor, if I'm not mistaken, so I played drums in a band, and I think my guitar player is like insanely into Alan Wake from what he was telling me, and he knew there was a remaster, and so he's all about that. Just joined to say, I dig all your shows. Keep up the great work. Well, Trent, thank you so kindly and so very much. It is a collective process, and obviously major shout-outs in every capacity to Cecil Ladd. That's right, my partner in crime and the guy who brought me into this crazy situation and gave me the platform to do Hail to Stephen King. So, but since things have chimed down just a little bit, I guess it's time to jump into everything else that is happening in the next few months on Hail to Stephen King, and with hopes that you guys are excited about that sort of thing. So the tier list did very good for us. It was dope. We were very happy about the response and the disagreements and everything of that nature. But so we have done a tier list for all of the books, And then we also did for the theatrically released films. But next up is the direct-to-video, the VOD, the mini-series, all those different things. And so that is the next big thing that Cecil and myself are kind of planning. And so I'm going to do a countdown personally. And then on top of that, we're going to shift over and just take his impression into estimation. And we're going to be just kind of rating things from that S to what FD. I'm trying to remember how far back it goes, but so cool in that regard. But we are very excited. So we're going to be doing all of those Children of the Corn sequels. I'm looking at the list right here, guys. Just making fun. So there are 11 Children of the Corn films beyond what we've covered. We still have the Sometimes They Come Back, 2 and 3, the Mangler, 2 and 3, Trucks. Goddamn Trucks. I hate that. I hate that movie so much. Hate it so much. Anyway, Carrie remake, Firestarter rekindled, Desperation, which we will most definitely be discussing here shortly because of the fact that, the book is 100 times better. But Mick Garris, I must say, Mick Garris and Hellboy, they're not bad in that movie, but it was like the constraints of the television. Dolan's Cadillac with Christian Slater. Yeah, that's another one. Mercy with Carl. Big Driver with the aforementioned Maria Bello. Gerald's Game, 1932. And so we're going to be ranking all of the stuff that was put on small screens, essentially. And yes, lots of miniseries. Salem's Lot. Langoliers, The Shining, Storm of the Mother Friggin' Century, which is probably the awesomest of this lot. Rose Red, Kingdom Hospital, so on and so forth. So that's the next ranking bit that we are doing, and we are extremely excited about it. And we are trying to keep you all compelled with the compelling content. And then even beyond that, Road Rage, which is a comic that Steve did with Joe. That's a thing. Trying to see unproduced King biopics. That's actually a Matty Jorgensen sort of idea. Favorite opening lines. I mean, I think at this particular point, probably Girl Who Loves Tom Gordon. It's the one that wins that. Creepiest Kids, Best and Worst Endings, adaptations that are better than the source material. And as Juan Martinez, said, it's all about the expansion aspect, and that's where you get those best sort of things. And then, we've got Ghost Brothers of Darkland County, which was a collaboration that King did with some music peeps. The best Stephen King story surprise, Endings That Changed My Opinion, and all of the Stephen King and South Park connections. That is one that I'm so stoked about. Discordia, the Dark Tower video game. So that's just, I have a massive spreadsheet of potential things. And yes, new news comes up when it does. And we just kind of hang out, kind of do our thing. But yes. Losing ratings. Yeah, that new Dark Tower, Children of the Corn film. I saw some people saying that they were all set and ready for it, but I don't think so. Okay, so we wrap things up accordingly. Still have Haven. I have not watched Haven, so I'm not sure what people particularly think of that detective show. I think it was on Sci-Fi Channel or one of those, but So that's the expansion on Colorado Kid. So keep that in mind. And then the one Dead Zone show, 6 seasons. 6 seasons. Goddamn. So that's the thing. But throughout the rest of the year, just to give all of you guys some credence and like anticipation and, I mean, expectation for us to have awesome palaver about a particular thing that Stephen King did. So, yep, 15th anniversary. Lacey's Story in October. And then we also have the Thinner 25th movie anniversary, which is coming October 25th. Carrie, dude, Carrie. Sorry, I'm not like stepping on that bug over there. Gross. Carrie is going to be 45. Yeah. Carrie is going to be 45 in October. November. It's nuts. I would actually like to do a full-on commentary of Carrie, since I feel like that even put Sai King on the map more so than The Shining, more so than like all of his books. I feel like the De Palma film was so instrumental in him becoming a household name, massively, in fact. And so for that reason, yeah, I want to do. If you guys would like to see it, let's get on that shizzle. Okay. And then 11/22/63, the book's 10-year anniversary. We will be rereading that. The Bag of Bones 10th anniversary miniseries in December. It's all good. And then the most recent thing, as far as Sai King goes, new writing, Gwendy's Final Task, February 15, 2022. Yeah. I don't necessarily know what I think about Chismar. I mean, I'm friends with a lot of peeps from Cemetery Dance, but I have mixed feelings about that entirety of the pairing. So it is what it is. But let's lightning round all of the different things that are allegedly in development for Sai King right now. Let's do it, guys, in honor of his birthday. Let's do that shizzle proper way. So, N, developed by Gaumont Television, if I'm not mistaken. They had planned to change it to 8 to make it numerical as opposed to, letters and stuff like that. But no further developments or announcements since the pandemic. So that's kind of a bummer. You've got the Bone Church, which was a poem and a story. Boogeyman, 20th Century Fox, they're saying that they're going to do that again, although it's been made into a short film quite a few times. It's got to be one of the most made dollar babies, dude. It's got to be. I've seen like 3 or 4 different adaptations of it. Anyway, The Breathing Method, Scott Dickerson. I'm not holding my breath for that particular one at this point. The Carrie series that I mentioned. And then there was the Cujo film, which was announced back in 2015. And I'm assuming they were developing something, optioned rights, just didn't get things going. Drunken Fireworks, James Franco, yeah, same. Dark Half, though. Dark Half with James Wan producing, just like he's doing with Salem's Lot. That one, I think, is probably more of the likelihood of becoming a thing. Elevation, Jack Bender directing. Yeah, bat my eye, Mr. Bender. Yeah, Firestarter. We know that like they were shooting Firestarter. So it's done shooting. It's its own thing. This is one of the more intriguing, though, guys, as far as the Ka-Tet goes. From a Buick 8, but directed by the guy who did Stakeland. That's pretty dope. That intrigues me significantly. Gingerbread Girl, yeah, short story about the girl running in Florida. Not a personal favorite. And also The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, which we talked about. It's the IT producer. I'm just like, Hearts in Atlantis, the Johannes Roberts directing. I have heard that this film is done, and it's just sitting around because it cannot find financial distribution. Because it's seriously about a bunch of kids like sitting around playing hearts. Yeah, they filmed it a while back. And then you still have the Institute series that is allegedly happening. The John series, which intrigues me significantly. Joyland, which is the Freeform, which used to be called Disney Plus, but I mean, if anything, Sai King was going to be optioned by Disney Plus, Joyland makes the most sense, and I'm totally cool with that. And then Life of Chuck. So intriguing. I mean, because of the fact that you've got Darren Aronofsky. Yeah, the pie guy. Like, come on. There are so many of these. Holy smokies. Harrigan's Phone is being made. And My Pretty Pony is being made. Overlook, as we talked about on the news, though, is not part of the process anymore. Pet Sematary prequel series, Rat with Ben Stiller. Andy Muccionetti trying to do road work. The Running Man with Edgar Wright. Yeah, there's a lot of really dope stuff. But the most important to kind of keep your eye on as far as like prominence is Salem's Lot, produced by Malignant Man, which I had mixed feelings on, which is fine. It's fine, buddy. It's fine. But yeah, James Wan doing the next big Stephen King adaptation, because right now you have to think the King Assance is presumably been completed. And so you have TV people like Chapelwaite, and then you have a couple film peeps like Salem's Lot, and that's about it. It's not like when I started this show and I was seeing all kinds of rad status interaction, and it just was okay. So I don't know. It's a very strange journey, but a compelling one because of the fact that you don't want everybody to love everything that you do. And dare I say, Sai King has most definitely encountered that himself, which is really funny. So that's going to be, I guess, the end of the proceedings for the day, everybody. I extend a grande gracias on Sai King's birthday. Happy birthday, Stephen King. Love you, man. I have been Jaime and Fuego, and you can find moi on all social media sectors like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, here on the YouTubies. And there's a lot to do. So I extend my thanks. And as my throat is like crunching up, no bueno, yo. Just take a peek at all of the coolness of the Sai King Siat. Yep. Very rad status. So thanks so much, everybody. You are supremely appreciated. And until the Wheel of Ka comes around once more, hasta luego, san amigos, constant readers and viewers alike, say thank you. Shout out to Lou from the Stephen King Facebook group, and then also Mike Kearns from Mike Kearns Book Reviews. But until next time, gang, remember, read Stephen King if you can. It's all good. Sorry, technical difficulties. Gotta love those technical difficulties.